thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who pronounces the T in disoriented twice, Mike Vandebogart.
Oh, thank you, Joe, and thank you once again
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a long night. Thank you, Joe, and thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We've been off for a couple weeks now. We've moved studios again. Joe went on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I was on vacation.
Mm-hmm. It's raining cats and dogs.
Yeah, if you hear a weird background sound, we can't help it. We've literally been just rained on for days now. I just had the most crazy experience getting to our new studio. I was driving downtown and water was just shooting out of like manhole covers and flooding the streets. And so we're having some real flooding
This is
problems.
how committed we are to this.
Yeah, we probably should have postponed this a night.
Yeah, it's too late. We're already here.
We're here, maybe all night.
Yep.
So what's going on in your world?
My world?
Yes.
I'm here right now. I'm coming back from vacation. I was down in Captiva, and that's slow and beachy and warm.
Yeah.
And I come back to this.
Yeah.
At least it's not snowing, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, excited to be back and get going. And we have a new format introducing that's going to be exciting.
Well, yeah. So we may go back to how we did it. This is a different kind of case. I won't go into it because it's a really interesting case, and it was recommended by a listener by the name of Annette Purcell. So thank you, Annette. And I started reading about the case, and it's a real fascinating case and very mysterious, and takes place in a very cool, alpine environment. So excited to get into it. Before we get going, some Patreon shout outs. So Andy Griffiths, Aiden.
Didn't he have that show?
Andy Griffin. Yeah. Aiden Trotterman and Tiffany Schmidt. So thank you so much for supporting the show. There it is.
There it is.
If you want to call the show, leave a voicemail, tell us how we're doing. You can call 208-391-6913.
Still worried about Montana Mike in North Dakota Ned.
Yeah, we haven't had a call from them in a while.
We need a wellness check.
We do need a wellness check. We need to hear about how your Sasquatch family is doing. So
Yes.
we got some other cool podcasts on the network: Off the Trails, Weird As We Know, Who Runs This Park, Crime Off the Grid, and Relish. If you want to support the show, we've got many ways you can do it: Patreon, YouTube memberships, premium subscriptions on Apple and Spreaker. We have a store where you can buy some different shirts, and we're going to add more stuff to that. And if money's tight, I know things aren't, gas is getting expensive and everything. So if money's tight, you can always help us out by doing the little free things. You can like our episodes on YouTube, or you can share them. Leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify. All that kind of stuff helps the AI overlords promote our show more on the various platforms. So, and you can just tell our show, tell your friends about our show, just to the point where they don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah. How do you know that right now this isn't just AI chatbots doing this episode?
Right.
That Mike built.
Oh, I haven't had time to work on it anymore.
He could have Joe locked in a basement somewhere and just using this voice.
Just feed you a bucket of fish heads every day.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. February 17th, 2018. After a night out at Sun Peaks Resort in British Columbia, A 20-year-old leaves a house party for a short walk back to staff housing and is never seen again. A winter storm batters the mountain village with plunging temperatures, gusting winds, and fresh snow. Search dogs, helicopters, drones, and hundreds of volunteers scour the resort and surrounding terrain, but find nothing. No body, no clothing, no phone, no trace. Join us this week as we investigate the haunting disappearance of Ryan Shtuka. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about how we're going to set this up.
So, because this isn't a typical person went out into the woods hiking, never came out, we are going to set up the location, kind of describe where it is, the environment that he was in, more of a narrative of the location versus our kind of data-driven description of where they were hiking.
A little more storytelling, setting up the location in that regard.
Yeah, but it still has a lot of facts
All the details.
about terrain and weather and things like that. But it also kind of describes the resort town a little, the roads he would have walked on,
Okay.
and all that. So,
Well, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
We'll see if the people love it or hate it.
yes,
And more importantly, if we love it or hate it.
yeah,
All right. So the valley, setting up the scene of the disappearance. We're going to start in the valley. Sun Peak sits in a high mountain valley in the interior of British Columbia, roughly 35 miles northeast of Kamloops. Sun Peaks is primarily accessed by one road. Sun Peaks Road, a winding two-lane highway that climbs through dense subalpine forests before delivering you into a purpose-built alpine village at 4,117 feet above sea level. The village sits in the bowl of a natural amphitheater formed by three mountains. Todd Mountain to the northwest at 7,000 feet, Sundance Mountain to the east, and Mount Morrissey to the south. These are not gentle hills. The vertical rise from the village floor to the summit of Todd is nearly 2,900 feet of raw elevation gain, pressing down on all sides. The terrain surrounding the village is almost the most rugged in the BC interior. Part of the Menashe Mountains within the broader Columbia Range, a landscape shaped by glaciation, avalanche paths, and deep snowpack that persists 6 months of the year. During the day, with lifts running and skiers carving groomed runs, the scale of the mountain fades into the background scenery. At night, and especially in mid-February, the mountains stop being scenery. They become walls. The village sits at the bottom of a bowl with nowhere flat to go. Every direction that isn't a road leads uphill into forest, into snowpack measured in feet, not inches. So the roads. The village road network is compact but deceptively complex for its size. The main artery at Sun Peaks Road, which enters from the south and terminates at the village center. From there, the roads branch. Village Way, Creekside Way thread through the commercial core near the Day Lodge. Sunburst Drive curves north along the base of Todd Mountain. Sundance Drive and Bella Vista Drive climb to the eastern flanks towards Sundance Mountain. Fairways Drive and Mountain View Drive wind west along the golf course, and there's Burfield, I almost said Buffalo, Burfield Drive, which runs south and west from the village, hugging the lower slopes beneath Mount Morrissey and offering ski-in access from the Burfield chairlift base elevation 3,900 feet. In winter, these roads are bordered not by curves, but by snowbanks. By mid-February, after months of sustained snowfall, Sun Peaks averages roughly 20 feet of snow annually. The banks along the road can reach chest height or higher. The plowed road surface becomes a channel carved into the snowpack. Side streets and access paths shrink to narrow corridors. What in summer might be a wide-open residential lane becomes in February a claustrophobic trench between walls of compressed snow. Sidewalks vanish entirely. The Valley Trail, a 3.7-mile paved loop that connects various areas of the resort in summer, becomes buried and impassable in many sections. Safety warnings posted by the resort itself strongly urge residents and visitors to use the Valley Trail rather than walking on the road, especially after having a few drinks. But by February, the trail is frequently unusable, forcing foot traffic onto the plowed roadway. There are no sidewalks in Burfield Drive in the winter. and there are no curbs. There is the plowed lane, and there is snowbank, and past the snowbank, there is mountain. So it's just basically 2-lane plowed through like the snow and very impassable.
Yeah, it's they get 20 feet of snow, and in the winter, it's, I picture it in my head just.
Was it like in Russia where they had like unusual snowfall and people are jumping out of their buildings into it, and they just showed like digging cars out, and it's just walls.
I mean, yeah, probably somewhere in like Siberia. I can see that.
The Eastern Bloc.
Yeah.
So Burfield Drive and the walk home. So the area where Ryan went missing was on Burfield Drive. His cabin, a shared staff accommodation, sat roughly 1,000 feet away, which is a 10 to 15 minute walk on any normal night. The route was simple: down Burfield Drive to a short path next to a small stream that led straight to his cabin. The Burfield, the employee housing building, sits at 1140 Sun Peaks Road, a shared dormitory building with bunk beds, small kitchenettes, and walk-in showers. It was the kind of no-frills seasonal worker housing that ski resorts run all over Western Canada. The Burfield ski lift was a 2-minute walk away. The village core was about a 5-minute drive. Everything in Sun Peaks is close together on a map, but in deep winter, late at night, with snowbanks compressing the roads and the subalpine forest pressing in from every edge, 1,000 feet can become a long walk. The critical detail about this route: it branches. Burfield Drive is not a straight line from point A to point B. It curves. It connects to other roads: Fairways Drive, Mountain View Drive, Sun Peaks Road. Multiple turnoffs open into service roads, ski trail access points, and paths that in summer lead to the golf course or a Nordic trail network. In winter, many of these paths are buried, but not all of them. Some remain visible as depressions or tracks in the snow, and in the dark, with alcohol affecting judgment, any of those openings could look like the right way home. The ski runs themselves border the residential areas. The resort is explicitly marked as ski in, ski out, meaning the boundary between the groomed terrain and the residential streets is non-existent in places. A wrong turn doesn't lead to another neighborhood. It leads into a ski run or into a tree line or toward a frozen creek bed that snakes through the valley. McGilvery Creek and its tributaries run through the area. Small streams cut through the landscape, some of them close to the path Ryan would have walked. In winter, these are largely frozen and buried under snow, but they create depressions and uneven terrain beneath the surface. Pockets where the snowpack is unstable, where a person walking off trail could punch through a snow bridge into water or simply seek into deeper accumulation. So we talk about that a lot in crevices.
Yeah.
Like snow bridges, you could be over a large gap, but it looks like a stable surface until you step on it. And
there you go.
Yeah. So a little bit about the weather pre and post disappearance. This is not speculation or estimation. Sun Peaks Resort's own daily avalanche forecast for Saturday, February 17, 2018, records the conditions in detail. A low pressure system was moving over southern British Columbia. 4 to 6 inches of new snow were expected through Saturday. By evening, northerly winds were becoming gusty and Arctic air was pulling south. Another 2 inches of snow was forecast for Saturday night. The daytime high was near 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunday high would be near 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow temperature at the mountain was 14 degrees. 3 inches of new snowstorm had already accumulated over the previous 48 hours, with wind-loaded pockets forming on sheltered aspects. By Sunday morning, February 18th, conditions had worsened. Snow temperatures were at the upper mountain had dropped to minus 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Mid-mountain were minus 2. Roughly 9.5 inches of new snow had fallen in the preceding 48 hours, with nearly 9 inches in the last 24 hours alone. Gusty north winds continued. The avalanche danger inside the ski area boundary was rated considerable across all time periods.
So really, the weather at this time,
it was picking up.
And it's not ideal for someone to go missing in.
Oh, absolutely not.
Even if you are bundled up with ski gear on, you don't want to be caught out in that kind of weather.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like blizzard, but just like pouring snow.
And avalanche risk and
just all of it.
Yeah.
So by the evening on Sunday, February 18th, the temperatures were at the village elevation, which is 4,117 feet, was somewhere between 5 degrees and minus 4 degrees. Wind chill would have pushed the effective temperature lower. Fresh snow was actively falling. Visibility was severely limited, the kind of night where you would shrink to a few yards in every direction where the mountains above disappear entirely, and where the only reference points are whatever light you can see still through the snowfall. The average February temperature at Sun Peaks is 21. This was not an average February night. This was an Arctic outbreak layered on top of an active storm cycle, with blowing snow, reducing visibility, and fresh accumulation burying whatever tracks existed on the ground. So it was just a perfect storm, literally, figuratively, to get walk home in.
Yeah. Especially if you're intoxicated, it would make 100% it even harder.
And speaking of that, just darkness in general. Sun Peaks is not a city. There are no street lights lining Burfield Drive. The village core has some ambient light. The day lodge, the hotels, the string of decorative lights that give the pedestrian village its postcard quality. But on the residential roads radiating outward, lighting drops off sharply. Burfield Drive would have been lit primarily by whatever glow leaked from the windows of condos and cabins and by reflective light of fresh snow. So fresh snow does not amplify ambient light. Street lights or house lights will brighten up significantly when reflected off the snow at night. But during an active snowstorm, the effect cuts both ways. The falling snow scatters and diffuses light, creating a flat, disorienting whiteout effect where depth perception collapses. The ground blends with the air, snowbanks blend with the road, the tree line blends with the sky. There are no shadows, there is no contrast. A person walking in these conditions, even on a familiar road, can lose spatial orientation without realizing it. The resort's security camera were not operational that night either. Literally the perfect storm of everything going wrong.
Yes.
So a little bit about the tree line. Past the snowbanks on Burfield Drive, the terrain transitions quickly. Sun Peaks sits at the boundary between the montane and subalpine ecological zones. The forests surrounding the village are dense stands of Engelmann spruce, subalpine fir, and Douglas fir. In winter, these trees are laden with snow. Branches sag under the weight, and the canopy closes in, blocking what little ambient light might filter through. Old man's beard lichen drapes from the branches, and the understory is buried. The ground is not flat. It rolls and pitches with the contours of the mountain, concealing stumps, rocks, creek beds, and drops beneath a smooth white surface that gives no indication of what lies underneath. 10 steps off plowed road and you are in the forest. 20 steps in the road is no longer visible behind you. The snow is waist deep or deeper in untracked areas. Movement becomes exhausting. Each step requires lifting your entire leg above the surface, punching through the crust, and sinking again. Without snowshoes, forward progress in deep powder at this elevation in these temperatures can drop to a few hundred yards per hour.
That's slow.
That's so slow. The terrain rises sharply in every direction away from the village. From the Burfield chairlift base at 3,900 feet, the mountain climbs to 6,800 feet at the summit, nearly 2,900 feet of elevation gain. The ski runs that descend towards the village back in time, Burfield Outrun, Homesteader, are wide, groomed corridors during the day. At night, without groomers or lighting, they are open slopes of wind-loaded snow flanked by forests tilting upward into the dark. A person who stepped off Burfield Drive onto one of these runs would have been walking uphill into deepening snow with no visible destination and diminishing physical capacity. And if that wasn't enough, what does the cold do? So understanding what happened or what may have happened in this case requires understanding what 5 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit does to the human body, particularly one that may have been drinking. Alcohol is a vasodilator. It causes blood vessels near the skin surface to open, flooding the extremities with warm blood from the core. This creates a sensation of warmth, the flush in the cheeks, the feeling that the cold isn't so bad, but the warmth is a lie. The blood that warms the skin is being pulled away from vital organs. So core temperature drops. At the same time, alcohol suppresses the shivering reflex, the body's primarily involuntary defense against cold, and impairs the ability to perceive cold air temperatures. The quote-unquote beer jacket effect is not protection, it's the removal of protection.
And anyone who has gone to college in a northern climate
is Milwaukee in particular.
Yeah, familiar with the beer jacket.
Oh yeah,
term.
walking around just with a t-shirt on and shorts in the middle of winter. You're like, I feel fine.
Yeah. Or someone will say, have a few beers, you'll warm up.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what they're talking about.
In addition to all that, alcohol impairs decision making. I didn't know that about alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A sober person who steps off a plowed road in waist-deep snow at 0 degrees recognizes the danger immediately. An intoxicated person may not. The signals that the body sends, the burning in the exposed skin, the numbness in the fingers, the difficulty breathing in cold air, are muted or misinterpreted. The impulse to turn back is dulled. The capacity to recognize disorientation is compromised. So hypothermia progresses in stages. When the core temperature drops below 95 degrees, shivering intensifies, coordination falters, and confusion begins. Below 90 degrees, moderate hypothermia, shivering may stop entirely, speech becomes slurred, movement becomes clumsy and slow, and cognitive function deteriorates rapidly. The person becomes disoriented, apathetic, unable to make rational decisions. Below 82 degrees, consciousness starts to fade. But before that loss of consciousness, two phenomena occur that have and this has baffled investigators in cold exposure deaths for decades. The first is paradoxical undressing, documented in 20 to 50% of hypothermia deaths. As the muscles controlling vasoconstriction exhaust and fail, warm blood suddenly floods the skin from the core. The victim, already confused, experiences an overwhelming sensation of heat. They begin removing clothing, coats, gloves, boots. In the final stages, they strip. The behavior has led investigators to misidentify hypothermia deaths as sexual assaults or other crimes. The second is terminal burrowing. In the last phase before death hypothermia, victims exhibit a primitive, autonomous behavior. Researchers describe it as an originating from the brainstem, the same region that governs survival instincts in hibernating animals. The victim crawls into an enclosed space, under a bush, beneath a porch, into a snowbank, behind a rock. They curl up, they stop moving, they burrow in, and they die. Sometimes in locations so concealed they are not found for months or years, or ever. A study of fatal hypothermia cases in subarctic regions found paradoxical undressing documented in 30% of the cases, with ethanol detected in 43% of the victims. Clothes were usually found close to the body, and terminal burrowing tended to occur predominantly during slow decreases in temperature, exactly the type of gradual cooling that occurs during a walk through a snowstorm in early hours of the morning. So that's actually crazy. I love that detail that we've never talked about on both of those things.
Yeah. The terminal burrowing thing is kind of interesting because it's tapping into, the subconscious activities of the brain that are like relics of evolution.
It's like the last ditch effort to save the bodies. Like, just go hide.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can survive long enough to wait out whatever's causing this.
Yeah, it's kind of like your body at that point is on autopilot, and it's just doing something like a last-ditch effort to maybe this human will find somewhere that's warm enough for us to survive, but who knows? Like, it's kind of fascinating. I love when it's sad that most people do it, end up passing away, but I love the fact that the human body has various layers of ways to try to self-protect you.
I know, it's so wild. Even when you're dying slowly, your organs shut off in a specific order.
Yeah.
From least important to most important. It's
or,
very wild.
Like how, your body will like restrict blood to the vital organs, which is why people get like frostbite and lose fingers and hands and limbs and feet.
Yeah.
Because you can still survive if you don't have feet, but you need your organs, obviously. So I just love that, there's like a layered tiering of no matter how stupid you are with your own body, your body is still trying to save you.
Yes, it's self-coded.
Yeah, it's just fascinating.
All right, tell us a little bit more about Ryan Shtuka.
All right, so he was born March 17th of 1997. He went missing February 17th of 2018. He was a male, age 20. He was described as athletic build. He worked out almost every day. Gym was a part of his daily routine. He played rugby competitively. He played soccer as a kid, football in high school, transitioned to rugby, which became his passion. And he had been snowboarding 36 consecutive days before disappearing. So very physically fit and capable. He was 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. He had blonde hair, brown eyes. Other distinguishing things about him: he had no tattoos, no piercings, and really no distinguishing marks at all that I could find. Clothing gear he was last seen in, so he was in dark jeans, gray white shirt, blue coat, burgundy baseball cap with the logo of Nor'Wester Athletic Association rugby team. He had no backpack, no survival gear, no phone charger. His work boots and ski pass were found still at the cabin. And he obviously never made it home to change it because he went to a party. he wasn't out skiing. He wasn't planning to be out in the wilderness. He was at a party. So he wasn't dressed for really being out in the woods. Personality-wise, he was known to be cautious around new people, but he would warm up and get social once comfortable. A lot of people said he was loyal to the core. You know, he had a core friend group that he had known since childhood. He was very funny, sarcastic with people he trusted. He was described by coworkers as a really good guy, really genuine and confident, and just someone everyone liked to be around. So his mother, Heather, described him as a typical 20-year-old who was close to home, close to his friends, and not someone who took unnecessary risks. He would never have gone to Sun Peaks alone. He only went because his childhood best friend, James, was going with him. And so, you know, he was kind of stepping out of his comfort zone for the first time. And, you know, a lot of people said he was not a risk taker by nature. So very interesting. And you forget he was only 20. That's young.
Yeah.
No medical issues that I could find. So, like I said, very physically fit and healthy. His occupation, hobby at the time. So he worked for his father, Scott's construction company after high school. He did attend 1 year of college, just general sciences. He did well, but he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his life. So he took a gap year to figure things out. Very common. A lot of people do that. And at Sun Peaks, he worked as a lift operator and also reportedly worked at the resort's tube park. His shift was roughly 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7:30, giving him mornings free to snowboard before work. And the whole time I was reading this case, I was just thinking of the movie Out Cold.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, he could have been one of the guys in Out Cold.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And when I was younger, because that movie came out, it had to have been in the late 90s.
Yeah.
For a while there, I wanted to move to Montana or
100%.
and just work at a ski
whatever
hill.
life that was.
Yeah, it just
100%. I would have.
It looked fun. So
we should have done that.
We should have done that. So obviously, snowboarding was his primary passion and the whole reason for the trip. And like I said earlier, he had snowboarded for 36 consecutive days leading up to his disappearance, and allegedly had just landed his first backflip. So pretty cool. Experience in the wilderness. So Ryan grew up in Beaumont, Alberta, which was a small prairie town south of Edmonton. Alberta winters are very cold, so he was not unfamiliar with the types of temperatures that he would have experienced here. However, there is a very significant difference between experiencing cold in a suburban prairie town with just flat terrain and navigating a mountainous terrain, at elevation in a blizzard. So, experience in this location, he had been living and working at Sun Peaks for around 2.5 months. He walked the route between the party house and the cabin regularly. So he was familiar with the short path and he knew the roads. He also knew the village, but a lot of this was in daylight and moderate conditions. So he really had only, it's not like he grew up here. He really had only been in this area for a couple weeks and probably hadn't experienced a full-on blizzard yet. And
I mean, there's not a lot of places to go. So
No.
For those who are watching the video, we don't have cameras on us, but I'm still sharing the screen.
yeah, we're cameraless tonight.
Yeah, it's just like a couple main roads, and it's just like a little town that's wedged between a bunch of mountains.
And these aren't even
And
what I would call aggressive mountains.
They're not aggressive, but I mean, there's just nothing here. When I go in, there's some of the houses are beautiful, but there's 3 side streets
Yeah.
off the main one.
Can you zoom back out? I just want to go to a higher view to see what's the biggest city nearby.
Oh, going way out?
Yeah. Where are we?
We're in British Columbia.
Well, now I was just thank you.
Spokane. I see Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
And I'm sure these are well known in BC.
Yeah.
Kelowna, whatever that is.
Kelowna?
Yeah, of course, it's a really difficult name to pronounce.
Okay.
Vancouver, there we go.
There you go. You had it all turned around.
I know. That's
Okay.
We're in space. There is no up.
So is that just north? Is that due north of Glacier?
No, it's north of Washington. Glacier.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, Glacier's further. Okay.
Yeah, if anything, like,
More Mount Rainier.
yeah.
So it's
Vancouver is
northeast of Seattle for any Americans listening.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously northeast of Vancouver.
But like northeast of Vancouver by like 200 miles.
Yeah, not like close.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So the route he was planning to take, like Joe had mentioned, was only 1,000 feet. You know, it did branch to multiple directions, and on the night he disappeared, visibility would have been very limited. The snowbanks had compressed the roads into what Joe described as narrow channels, and the path to his cabin may have been buried under fresh accumulation. So he knew where he was going, but the conditions were the worst they could probably be for him. So jumping right into timeline, we'll start December 2017. This would be the month that he arrived at Sun Peak. So on December 1st of 2017, Ryan and his childhood best friend made the 9-hour drive from Beaumont, Alberta to Sun Peaks, British Columbia. Both guys had planned to spend the winter season working at the resort and snowboarding. Sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do that. I'm a skier, not a snowboarder, though. You snowboarded, right, Joe, or were you a skier?
I'm both, but I'm bad at snowboarding because I'm just trying to learn how to do that
Yeah.
one. I'm actually not great at both because I don't go enough, but I'm better at skiing.
The key with skiing or snowboarding is do it when you're really little.
Yeah, when it hurts less.
Well, and you just remember how to do it.
Yeah.
I learned to ski when I was a little kid, and then I skied, growing up, and then I didn't ski for like 10 years, and then went on a skiing trip to Colorado, and it was like riding a bike again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, interesting. So Ryan moved into a cabin at the resort with his friend and 4 other roommates. He was assigned to work in the lift department, and by some accounts, also worked at the tube park, like I said earlier. He settled in quickly. A coworker later described him as a really good guy, really genuine and confident. Excuse me. Adding that everyone liked him and that he did not have enemies. Always good to not have enemies. One of his housemates was 30-year-one Chris Feeney, an Australian on a working holiday visa who became close friends with Ryan. And Ryan really kind of looked up to Chris. So Feeney later recalled that Ryan took a few days to open up, but they bonded over music, rugby, and life in Australia. So Ryan was really thriving at Sun Peaks throughout December and January. He stayed at the resort over Christmas rather than making the long drive home. As his 2 days off did not leave enough time either, so it would be a 14-hour round trip, so I get why he wouldn't go home. And his family did plan to come visit him in February. In January, Ryan texted his father to say he had snowboarded 36 consecutive days and landed his first backflip. He did maintain regular contact with his family back in Beaumont and planned to return home in the spring to resume work with his father in his construction company. It's now February 16th of 2018. This would be the last kind of normal day for Ryan. So it's Friday, and he worked his shift in the lift department at Sun Peaks Resort and clocked out at 7 p.m. He returned to the cabin he shared with his roommates, showered, and got ready for a night out. That evening, a group of friends got a ride into Sun Peaks Village. They started with a drink at Masa's Bar and Grill before heading to Bottoms, a popular local bar, for a silent disco event. At the silent disco event, each person receives a pair of wireless headphones and can switch between competing DJs. I've done that once at the art museum here in Milwaukee. It was really cool.
Yeah, I've done that at Electric Forest.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
Yeah. So his roommate, Chris Feeney, later described the night as going by in a flash. He was quoted as saying, "It felt like 2 Backstreet Boys songs and the night was over." So
Here's Bottoms Bar and Grill.
okay.
You can kind of see it right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just...
It seems like the main center area of town, honestly.
And, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's... it's not like Breckenridge or one of those towns. It's not as built up as that.
Yeah, it's very remote.
Yeah. It has that feeling.
Yep.
But again, the mountains don't look that aggressive.
They're not, but I mean, we're looking at it with no snow.
True.
I wonder if I can get
You can find a snowy view.
Yeah, I'll keep looking.
Okay.
You keep going.
So, like we had the Backstreet Boys quote, and then the last known photo of Ryan was taken at this silent disco event. So, like we said, the weather that evening was deteriorating. A snowstorm was moving through the area, and nearly a lot of fresh snow was falling. Temperatures were plummeting. It was just the weather was getting worse by the hour. So after the silent disco was done, none of the group was ready to go home. They heard about a house party happening nearby and tagged along with others to the residence on Burfield Drive within Sun Peaks Village. And this is also known as After Bar.
I love how they clarified that.
Well, no, I just added that.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it was funny. Like, no one wanted to go home yet when the bar ended.
Yeah.
To be 20 again.
Because there's nothing to do.
Yeah. So,
What was the road that was on again? I'm trying to find it.
Burfield?
Burfield, okay.
Yeah.
They don't have them labeled on Google Maps until you go to the street.
Oh, really?
That's like literally how remote this is. So I'm just kind of jumping in and learning the different roads.
And look, you can ski literally right up to like the center of town.
To everything.
Yeah.
It's Creekside, Village Way. All right, I'll find it.
So, like we've been saying a few times now, the house was only a few minutes walk from the cabin Ryan shared with his roommate. The party was described as a relatively small and mellow gathering of mostly resort employees and regular skiers, with fewer than 50 people in attendance. That sounds like a pretty big house party. Feeney recalled that most of the people there were regulars or lifties, and I knew it was really a pretty mellow gathering rather than a party. So let's get into the disappearance. So the last sighting, the group stayed at the house party on Burfield Drive until early hours of Saturday morning, probably around 1:30 a.m. Chris, his girlfriend Kristen, and another friend decided they were ready to head home. The walk was short along the road and the trail they used regularly. So one roommate had already left the party earlier and walked home. As Feeney and his girlfriend prepared to leave, Ryan was seen standing up. It appeared he was putting his shoes on and putting on his blue coat, as if he was also preparing to leave with them. Nobody, though, actually asked Ryan if he was heading home or offered to wait for him. That moment, Ryan standing up at the party, apparently getting ready to go, was the last confirmed sighting of him. So he was last seen potentially getting ready to leave the party. No one had seen him since. So the time now is approximately 2:10 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, February 17th. So, however,
Here you go.
Oh, what do we got?
The center, from where they were to like the center of Burfield Drive is like 7,000 feet of walking. Like the most direct path.
So
He was up here and they walked to this block right here.
So let me see if I know exactly where the house party was.
I mean,
the house party was on Burfield Drive somewhere.
Yeah, so this is Burfield Drive.
Yeah.
So somewhere in this area.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, this is approximately 2:10 in the morning on February 17th. Though there was some later evidence that complicated the timeline. A text message from someone at the party would later suggest Ryan may have left closer to 1:40 a.m. Nobody at the party remembers actually seeing Ryan walk out the door, and people who arrived at the party shortly after did not recall seeing him there. So,
this is a picture of him at the party.
Oh, no, this was the last known picture of him at the silent disco.
That's
no, he went to a house party
that's
after.
I meant, I meant the disco, my bad.
And I'm not really shocked that people weren't quite sure on what time it was at the house party, so they've been drinking all night, having fun. Like, you're not going to get probably a lot of reliable witnesses of
especially
what time.
If you're like a friend that ghosts.
He just does the Irish goodbye.
We have a couple friends that do that, and it's just like when they go, it's like no one knows.
Yeah, our friend Dan, if he's listening, shout out to Dan.
Yeah, he's working on the castle right now.
Yeah, he was.
Get back to work, Dan.
Get back to work. You're not allowed to listen. He was notorious. You'd be talking to him 1 minute, you'd go to get a beer and come back, and he's just gone.
Oh, he came out to the rave on my birthday, and he was just gone.
He did it. He's still doing it.
Yeah, 100%. But good for him. He's doing what he wants to do.
Good job, Dan.
Love you, Dan.
Yeah. So, and we keep stressing the walk from the party to Ryan's cabin was less than 1,000 feet. And it should have taken him approximately 10 to 15 minutes along.
So from the party to his cabin was less than 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go just get an idea of, okay, that's like up or down the block from the center of Burfield Drive is like 2,000 feet long.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So
That's not, that's not that far.
10 to 15 minutes. Very familiar. He's done this many times. So
That's with no snow.
no snow.
To be fair.
Or at night when it's,
But like, look at, okay. This is where like I understand what they're talking about with the type of blizzard conditions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine getting lost on this road even in a blizzard. There's houses on each side. So for those listening, like it is like one of those paved roads that's like kind of dirt, kind of paved. But there's like full on houses right next to each other lining the entire street.
Yeah.
And they're not small. They look like, 2 occupancy houses built straight up, 2 garages on each side. I don't know. I mean, when you get to the ends, I can see, like it gets into open mountain, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Unless you're that like had that much to drink.
I mean, that never happens.
Hey,
No, we'll get into theories. I think
Yeah,
there's
keep
an
going.
interesting theory here that I don't think
okay.
you're thinking
well,
of.
this side of Burfield only has houses on one side. All right.
And again, like we said, the description of what these roads would be like in the winter is
just be narrow passageways.
a narrow carved path with snow on both sides up to your chest, potentially.
Yeah.
So it really kind of would just guide you along. You would just, if you just stayed in the middle of that plowed
so if
road,
you're stumbling around, you're just gonna go down whatever chute you're on.
maybe, because it does branch off. If you look at, keep going down, you'll see that it branches off into other little roads.
Yeah.
And,
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough.
but I was trying to make the point is it would be really hard to get lost on this road.
Yeah.
In the winter, if you've got those steep snowbanks on both sides, it would be really tough to.
But if they're cutting into other trails, like ski trails,
Yeah, which it does.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is like right here.
Yeah,
Like, where do you go?
yeah.
If you're stumbling around and you go the wrong way.
And remember, he's only been here for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
so he's not that familiar with the area.
Okay.
And if you've had a few drinks, obviously that compounds
Yeah.
everything going on.
Yep. Fair enough.
So, there was no single obvious path. There's several routes available that he could have, taken, and each opened into more terrain. Conditions were extreme around 2 a.m. Temperatures were very cold. Snow was, falling. Visibility was low. And who knows? I guess you could have wandered off. So the next morning, Ryan's roommates wake up on Saturday morning. Ryan's not in the cabin. At first, this didn't raise immediate alarm. They assumed he'd gone to work early for his 11 a.m. shift, or perhaps he stayed out at the party, gone home with someone, or crashed on the couch somewhere else. As the day went on, concerns started to grow. Ryan's supervisor at the resort reached out to one of his roommates because Ryan had not shown up for his shift. Missing work was completely out of character for Ryan. As the afternoon progressed and Ryan still didn't appear, his roommates tried calling and texting him. There was no response. They noticed that Ryan's work boots and ski card were still at the cabin, making it clear that he never had returned home or gone to work. The roommates began trying to piece together what had happened. They posted in a local Sun Peaks Facebook group asking if anyone's seen Ryan. They reached out to people who had been at the party. They reviewed whatever security footage they could find in the area, hoping to spot Ryan walking home. But unfortunately, they did not find anything. Ryan did not appear on any footage. And notably, like Joe mentioned earlier, the security cameras installed by Sun Peaks Corporation viewing the single road into the resort and other areas weren't operational at the time. So those cameras would have really helped figure out what happened to Ryan. Mm-hmm. And of course, they weren't working. So
As it always happens.
Yeah, what are we watching here?
I've got a video pulled up. They made like a little documentary called Peaks and Valleys, a search for Ryan Shtuka. And I saw they had a shot of people walking around the village with snowfall.
Okay.
Now, this isn't as much as there was, but there's some lighting.
Yeah.
From what I understood from some comments, I think there's like a video of the mom doing the walk from the party.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and find that and get that playing. If you want to keep going,
Yeah.
I'll pause it when I find it.
So by the evening, the roommates called the local hospital, which had no record of Ryan. The hospital advised them to contact the police. So this is really kind of when Ryan was reported officially missing at approximately 8:47 p.m. on Saturday, February 17th of 2018. And because, Sun Peaks is a small resort community with no permanent police presence, officers from a neighboring town, the RCMP, responded. Officers arrived at Ryan's residence around midnight, and a formal missing persons report was filed. One of Ryan's roommates also decided to contact Ryan's mother, Heather, who was, like we said, 9 hours away in Beaumont, Alberta, with Ryan's father, Scott. The text message read, in essence, Ryan had not come home from a previous night, had not shown up for work, and they had filed a missing persons report. Both parents felt immediately that something was terribly wrong. Ryan did not miss work. He did not disappear without telling anyone. So Heather checked her phone and realized that a text she had sent Ryan that morning, "Good morning, love bug," had not been delivered. So Heather and Scott called the police themselves to confirm that Ryan had been reported missing. As soon as they hung up, they got in the car and began the 9-hour drive to Sun Peaks. And Heather would later go on to describe that as the longest and the shortest drive of her life. I can't imagine. So Scott later said that the hairs on the back of his neck stood up when he learned Ryan was missing, and he had a gut feeling that something terrible had happened. It's now February 18th. This is when the initial search kicks off. So, the search for Ryan began almost as soon as he was reported missing. The police brought in search dogs, deployed them near the party house on Burfield Drive. Investigators hoped the dogs could maybe pick up Ryan's scent and establish a direction of travel. Unfortunately, the dogs could not find one, and the trail almost instantly went cold. So officers spoke with Ryan's roommates and others who had been at the silent disco and at the house party, hoping maybe someone had seen Ryan leave or heard him say where he was going, but nobody had answers. Police also began checking Ryan's phone records, social media accounts, bank activity. Nothing had been used since he was last seen. There were no messages, there was no transactions, no really digital signs of any life. But also no evidence that Ryan had left Sun Peaks. So, very interesting. The one digital trace was a cell phone ping at approximately 3 a.m. on February 17th that placed Ryan's phone somewhere in Sun Peaks. Unfortunately, they were not able to get an exact location from just one cell phone ping.
That's awful.
Because that would have really helped the investigation.
Yeah. At least get like a general area of where he could be.
Yeah, so on Sunday, February 18th, search and rescue teams set up a temporary command post at the Ski Patrol office. RCMP Sergeant Doug Aird explained that the initial search focused on the 3 to 4 block radius where Ryan was last seen, but fresh snowfall, nearly a foot of snow, made the search very difficult. A member of the search team noted that the snow was soft and deep, and if Ryan had stepped off the trail, there should have been evidence of it, and there wasn't any. So what really began as a local response quickly escalated into a full-scale operation. We had 3 separate command centers established to coordinate efforts across the resort and surrounding areas. Search teams deployed every tool available, snowmobiles, helicopters. They even had drones equipped with infrared cameras. Searchers were digging through snowbanks. They were probing snow with poles. They went door to door through the village. Ryan's father, Scott, dug holes in the snow around Ryan's cabin and used an excavator to move large piles of snow. So they were wondering maybe he passed out in the snow and got buried. Police asked all Sun Peaks residents to check their vehicles, sheds, garages, outbuildings, any unlocked structures, considering the possibility that Ryan may have entered a car or building to escape the cold and became trapped. Residents were asked to review security footage, dash camera footage, and trail camera footage, not only for Ryan's presence, but for any other people or vehicles in the vicinity at the time he went missing. Despite all of these searches and all of these efforts in this small little area where I couldn't imagine someone going missing, nothing was found. It's pretty wild. And despite all of these efforts, by the evening of February 18th, just one day after Ryan was discovered missing, the search and rescue announced that they had completed all their required tasks for a missing person in that environment. So with no leads, no sightings, no physical evidence, they had no choice but to formally suspend the search on February 19th of 2018. So this might go down as the shortest search and rescue operation we've ever covered on a case. So one day.
Wild.
And sadly, officials were already kind of planning for the worst and stated that if Ryan was still in Sun Peaks, they believed he was no longer alive because they had found no clothing, no belongings, and no indication of where he had gone. So by late February 2018, the family is kind of starting to take over. The police investigation did remain active, but the formal search and rescue operation was over. Ryan's family and friends immediately began organizing their own efforts. Heather and Scott, his parents, relocated to Sun Peaks and established a command center of their own. They were joined by family and friends from Beaumont and a rapidly growing network of volunteers from across British Columbia and Alberta. By February 20th of 2018, the Sun Peaks community organized a third day of searching alongside the family, with about 20 people gathering in front of the Sun Peaks Fire Hall. The RCMP officers and 2 members of the police dog service continued participating. Later that day, a candlelight vigil was held in front of the Village Day Lodge on the 22nd. They even brought in a spiritual medium and family friend, Darren Donahue, traveled from Alberta to assist. She thanked the community, the police, the search and rescue team, and appealed publicly, quoting, We really need those that last saw him to come forward. So, one of Ryan's sisters asked people to light a candle in their window to spread hope. On February 26th of 2018, 9 days after Ryan's disappearance, the family announced a $5,000 reward for any information leading to his location. Friends, family, and community volunteers continued combing the area of Burfield Drive daily. It's now March of 2018. So from about March 7th to March 9th, the Canadian Search and Disaster Dogs Association, known as CASDA, arrived at Sun Peaks with specialized search dogs. Despite their expertise, the team again found nothing. On approximately March 12th, after serious contemplation and no new leads, the family increased the reward from $5,000 to $15,000 for information leading to Ryan's recovery. They even set up a GoFundMe campaign, which was set up by friends and family. Approximately 8 weeks into the ordeal, it began to raise significant funds, eventually exceeding $95,000. So the money went directly to covering the family's living expense in Sun Peaks and back in Beaumont, as well as billboards, flyers, a private investigator, and the reward. So the official search may have ended rather quickly, but this also has to be one of the largest family-initiated search operations I've ever read about in all the different cases we've covered. So pretty amazing the family is able to pull all this off. What are we looking at here?
On their Facebook page, they just created these like Shtukasauruses that you could sell, and it's information.
Really?
Yeah, it's like cute little things that you
That's
can
cool.
buy, and it has information about Ryan on it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm on
the-
Shtukasauruses.
Yeah, I'm on the Facebook page. I don't know why like thing from Milwaukee's coming up. That might just be because local ad or something. But
Huh. Interesting.
yeah, I'm gonna see if there's any
Do they still sell them? Maybe we should get one for the studio.
Potentially. I'll look into that while I'm going through this. I didn't see if it was up here on top. I'll find out.
Okay. So flyers with Ryan's face were posted throughout. Oh, here we go. I'm just about to talk about the Shtukasauruses. Were posted throughout the resort, and banners and billboards went up around Sun Peaks and the surrounding areas. The green dinosaur, Shtukasaurus, became a symbol of Ryan, with people around the world posting photos with little green dinosaur figures on a Facebook page dedicated to him. So helping his family imagine Ryan traveling the world. So pretty cool. It's now April 2018. So early in April, the search shifted to a different part of Sun Peaks Village. This was prompted by new information from someone who had been at the party with Ryan. That person had a text message suggesting Ryan may have left the party at around 1:40 a.m. rather than the previously assumed 2:10 a.m. And I had mentioned this earlier. Additionally, another individual came forward saying they saw someone matching Ryan's description around 1:55 a.m. walking on Fairways Drive toward Eagle Court, an area closer to the village's downtown core. This tip had initially been dismissed because it did not align with the 2:10 a.m. timeline. Once it became clear that Ryan may have left earlier, investigators revisited the information. The witness was described as sober and had an exact time for the sighting. So Ryan's mom goes on to say that it would have been unusual for Ryan to walk towards downtown at that hour, but acknowledged he may have been heading to Mountain High Pizza, which was open until 2 a.m. So very interesting. We kind of have conflicting timelines of what's going on. You looking up Mountain High Pizza?
I'm going to try to. Let's see where that's like right back into town.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah, it's like literally back where he was.
Yeah. Or
for the disco. If I remember, I'm gonna be like really because there's the disco and the pizza place is right here.
So we went to you at the disco, went to the house in Burfield, and then
potentially went right back there. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if he's been out all night,
I remember being 20
and
and drinking, and then I would go to Papa John's Pizza like every time.
If there was a pizza place open, you're going.
But right by our house was the Papa John's. So like we would walk 2 blocks, get a whole pizza, and bring it back.
So this doesn't seem that far-fetched to me.
It does not.
I could easily see he's hungry. Go get some food.
I would 100% do that.
Would make sense why he left early if he knows they close at 2.
Yeah.
So very interesting. So we do have conflicting timelines, but like Joe and I said, I can totally see him doing that before going home. So, at this time too, the family is now bringing in a helicopter, search dogs, and an excavator to search the new area. They began to explore the region in a more methodical way, using excavators and bobcats to move snow while volunteers performed grid searches. Despite all of these more focused efforts, again, nothing was found. So by May, Ryan had been missing for 12 weeks. The family's command center had moved from from hotel rooms into the old health center, portable building in Sun Peaks. More than 700 volunteers had helped search over the preceding months, which is wild. And the daily ground searches had taken place every single day since Ryan's disappearance. So for 12 weeks, they've been searching. And over 700 volunteers had chipped in, which is crazy. In May, the RCMP shared publicly that a man named Jim Reed had come forward with new information. Jim had been staying with friends near the house where Ryan lived on the night of the disappearance. He told investigators that he heard what sounded like an angry or possibly violent interaction outside in the middle of the night. I heard a guy's voice and it was mad, Reed said. The person he heard was yelling, "Get in the car, get in the effing car." Reed reported what he'd heard to the police, and the RCMP followed up with him several times. However, Heather later noted that it was determined Jim had been a significant distance from the party, and she was not certain what he heard had anything to do with Ryan. So very interesting. Also in May, Heather This is when Heather publicly revealed for the first time that Ryan's cell phone did ping at 3 a.m. on the 17th in Sun Peaks. And like I had mentioned earlier, the exact location unfortunately cannot be determined. To Heather, this confirmed that her belief that Ryan was still in Sun Peaks after leaving the party. However, many doubted this conclusion, especially as the snow continued to melt and Ryan still had not been found. So now the search had shifted from finding Ryan alive to obviously a recovery effort. Heather told the Sun Peaks Independent News, I'm going to quote, "We're now looking at more of a discovery. Likely someone will stumble across him, and that's heavy. We had hoped we would be able to find him while he was still in the snow and preserved with no animal contact or decomposition." In May of 2018, search and rescue teams returned to Sun Peaks for a formal organized search. This was the last official organized search involving major RCMP and SAR resources until 2021. The combined search effort was massive. So 3 formal searches had involved police and SAR, K9 units, drones with infrared cameras, snowmobiles, the RCMP's Air 4 helicopter, and upwards of 40 to 6 SAR technicians and 70 volunteers. Metal detectors, avalanche probes, shovels, snowshoes, and excavators were all used. Hundreds of hours were spent on the search and investigation, and again, nothing was found. So it's now June of 2018, and the family is, finally returning home. At the end of May, and more than, almost 3 months of living in Sun Peaks and searching every day, Heather and Scott made the agonizing decision to return home to Beaumont. Their daughters needed them. Heather told Sun Peaks Independent News that she still believed Ryan was in Sun Peaks, but their best chance of finding him had passed as spring deepened and undergrowth began to thicken. So every single day Ryan was searched for, Heather said, "We never took a day off." And the family still planned to return regularly and did so, coming back to Sun Peaks approximately once a month to search as weather permitted. It's now November 2018, so as Sun Peaks prepared for another busy ski season, a major CBC investigation examined how Ryan's disappearance continued to haunt the community. The RCMP had remained tight-lipped, creating what one community member called a vacuum of information. This silence had fueled a wild speculation and rumor throughout the resort. Gene Strong, editor of the Sun Peaks Independent News, cataloged the theories circulating online. So here you go. These are pretty interesting theories that were going around at the time. So abduction to sex trafficking to be involved in the drug trade to aliens to an animal attack. Any other wild theory you can think of has come up online, I think. This was her quote. So beyond the rumors, Ryan's disappearance had instilled genuine fear in the community, particularly among young seasonal workers. Retired RCMP investigator Brian Smith, a 25-year veteran who had investigated several missing persons cases and also had experience as a ski patroller and backcountry guide, had traveled from Alberta to help with the search at the request of the family. His initial conclusion was that Ryan had wandered into deep snow and gotten lost in the rugged terrain. However, in an interview with one of Ryan's friends, changed his mind. The friend seemed to be very nervous and very afraid for himself, which was unusual, Smith said. "My gut told me that this was most likely a homicide, not just a missing person." So they really don't know, and speculation is running rampant. After extensive interviews with everyone involved in Ryan's disappearance, the RCMP maintained their position that at this time there's no evidence that anything criminal happened. She added that police did not believe people in the Sun Peaks area should be concerned about their safety. However, the RCMP was careful never to definitively rule out foul play. Ryan's mother struggled against the speculation. She was quoted, "He's not confrontational. He's not an instigator. He's not one of those people that would go out of his way to start something." She goes on to say, we don't know why Ryan went missing. We don't know how he went missing. We don't know where he went missing. We want to believe that we'll find him. That's a parent's love. That's a parent's love will be so strong. So it's now February 19th. It's 1 year since his disappearance. This marked, the first year, obviously, of his disappearance. The family, their daughters, and a large group of family and friends gathered in Sun Peaks to mark the occasion with a fundraising dinner, a candlelight vigil, and other events. Sun Peaks Resort organized a Run for Ryan on February 16th. Approximately 100 people gathering at the top of a green run off the Sunburst chairlift. Green flags were distributed, and everyone skied down together as the sun broke through the clouds. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
By this time, the RCMP had followed up on more than 300 tips and reported sightings, including one where someone claimed Ryan was working as a lifeguard in another location. None of the tips actually led to anything. The police said there was no evidence to suggest Ryan had met with foul play. At the same time, there was no evidence of anything being found at all. So they really don't know. The RCMP's Major Crimes Unit and Investigation Unit were reviewing the file. So now Ryan's roommate Chris, he's back in Australia, spoke publicly about the uncertainty. He said, I have absolutely no idea what happened to him. All I know is that I don't believe he went anywhere with people he didn't know, wandered off into the woods, or was drunk enough to wander without knowing where he was going. So Ryan, he was young and fit, experienced in cold weather. He also addressed the online harassment he had received after traveling to Banff for a pre-planned trip with a friend from Australia approximately 2 weeks after the disappearance. He faced online criticism implying he was involved in harming Ryan, covering up what happened, or lying to police. He even received death threats. So people were very passionate about Ryan's case. The first year's search had been the largest ever conducted in the area. The valley had been scoured by hundreds of volunteers from around the world, professional searchers, search dogs, cadaver dogs. You had tactical teams, private investigators, psychics, a dive team, drones, helicopters, a plane, and nothing was found. It's like I just don't understand.
Because he couldn't have gone far.
No.
Like, given the snow and the direct, it's just that is wild.
It is wild. So it's spring, fall of 2019. Beginning in April of that year, the family began a more methodical approach to searching Sun Peaks. Again, excavators and bobcats are brought in to move snow, while volunteers performed systematic grid searches. They're not giving up hope that they're going to find something. In May of that year, drones were donated to the search effort and were used by Sun Peaks from a new angle. The drones were specifically tasked with spotting the burgundy hat that Ryan was said to have been wearing the night of his disappearance. And, they were hoping that the aerial technology might locate where it, in an area where ground searchers weren't able to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of 2019, the family organized approximately 7 search operations. The area continued to meet regularly with law enforcement during their visits. They came to Sun Peaks about once a month, and when winter conditions prevented effective searching, they came simply to feel connected with Ryan and the community that knew him. And again, throughout 2019, nothing was found. It's now February 2020, 2 years since his disappearance. The family continued their annual tradition of gathering in Sun Peaks for candlelight vigil and memorial events. The RCMP had still not determined what happened to Ryan. On the anniversary, they reiterated that there was no evidence of foul play, blah, blah, blah. There was no police presence stationed in Sun Peaks itself. So community members noted a significant detail. The last signal from his phone obviously was 3 a.m., so, they're still hung up on that fact that his phone did ping, and they're, wondering what happened to his phone then. Did it die? Was it destroyed? His bank accounts remained untouched. There was no indication that he left town. February 2021, 3 years after his disappearance. Again, really no new information. the RCMP keeps telling media they're still receiving tips from time to time. And, they acknowledged that the lack of answers was concerning. One of the members of the local search and rescue team said that whenever he trained his search dogs, he always took them to the area where Ryan disappeared, hoping they might find something. By this point, the search had shifted to find Ryan's belongings more than even his remains, which would likely no longer be intact after that length of time. It's now, late May of 2021, more than 3 years after his disappearance. The RCMP returned to Sun Peaks for the first significant boots on the ground search since May of 2018. RCMP Constable Crystal Evelyn confirmed the operation was related to the search for Ryan. The plan called for local Mounties and specialized RCMP search crews to be on site looking for information that could lead to Ryan. The weekend search on May 29th and 30th involved approximately 16 officers, a mix of Mounties and Southeast District Tactical Troop. Heather and Scott made the trip to Sun Peaks, unwilling to wait at home for the results. Heather would go on to reflect how the years have changed her approach. She said, after 3 years, one of the most painful truths is how I've learned to manage my expectations. The last time we had an official organized search was May 2018. I thought the snow had melted, and with so many volunteers, Ryan surely would have been found. For 2 days, I prayed and hoped and then grieved all over again. So, obviously, the search did not find Ryan. In a Facebook post from May 31st of 2021, Heather wrote, "It matters little what personal opinions you or I have regarding Ryan's disappearance. The goal remains to search until I am dust or dirt because my son matters. That is what I can do. That is what I will do." And Heather said she was impressed with the thoroughness of the RCMP search and hoped to incorporate similar techniques in future family organized searches. So they are still searching. It's amazing. They keep it going year after year. It's October of 2022 now. So Ryan's case is starting to gain national and international attention when it was featured on season 3, episode 12 of Paramount Plus's documentary series Never Seen Again, which aired October 10th of 2022. The episode explored how Ryan disappeared after a house party during a fierce winter storm and how a promising 20-year-old could simply vanish. So, it's great. We always say, end of the day, it's the more, exposure a case can get, the better. So
yeah, absolutely.
His case is finally getting some, international hits. In November of 2022, Heather published a book titled Missing From Me. The nonfiction account recounts the case of Ryan's disappearance in, the ski town and takes the reader through Heather's transformation from a parent to a search and rescue coordinator to missing person advocate. The book became an Amazon bestseller. Heather described it as a testament to the strength found in vulnerability and the power of words to heal and connect. So very interesting. What had begun as daily social media posts to keep people informed had evolved into sharing of stories about Ryan and the family's experience of living in Sun Peaks and searching for him every day. At the time, the Facebook page dedicated to Ryan had grown to nearly 55,000 followers. So a lot of people were really interested in this case. So it's now February 2023. We're 5 years from his disappearance. Again, the family's returning to Sun Peaks to mark the 5th anniversary. The annual Run for Ryan event was held on the 17th. It was followed by a candlelight vigil and a book signing for The Missing From Me at the Sun Peaks Grand Hotel and Conference Center. After Ryan's disappearance, Heather had co-founded the Free Bird Project with Tammy Neuron, Kate Sinclair, and one other woman. Tammy and Kate's brother, Dominic Neuron, and his girlfriend Ashley had gone missing in 2017 when their plane disappeared near Revelstoke. The wreckage was found in September of 2018. So the families would go on to combine their experiences in ground and aerial search operations to offer support and resources to other families of missing loved ones across Canada. This organization eventually became a registered nonprofit. So, it just kind of goes on. May of 2023, there's more searches. Nothing's found. October of 2023, they upped the reward to $25,000. They keep reflecting on the complexity of the different searches. And, February 2024, it's 6 years since his disappearance. They hold a candlelight vigil again. And, they're doing searches, they're doing events to try to, keep this search alive. Now it's far enough out that they really are not getting any increase in tips anymore from people. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's, fewer and fewer tips coming in every year. But then in May of 2024, they reported a notable increase in the number of tips regarding Ryan's disappearance. So Sue Brown, a lawyer and investigator with the organization, said they had received quite a number of tips in the past couple of months following a period where there weren't very many. Some of the tips showed consistency with each other and with tips received in the past containing verifiable details worth following up on. So very interesting how it kind of ebbs and flows, the tips. So now we're to February 2025. This is 7 years after his disappearance. Again, they return to the area. They're doing their candlelight vigil. They're holding events. They are, still doing family searches. Unfortunately, nothing was ever found. They still maintain regular communications with the family about the case. Police would inform the family of some of the tips they received and whether they were believed credible. They've been very accountable to us. Heather said it's very comforting for us to know that the investigation is not considered a cold case, but is still actively reviewed and worked on. Despite all of this, Heather acknowledged, I think we still feel like it's Groundhog Day. It's still February 17th of 2018. It's still the same thing over and over. We don't have any real new information. Then in August of 2025, there is a story published called Into Thin Air. I think Joe was looking at the video of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes into, the volunteers with the search, the recovery and detection of canine team, all that kind of stuff. Very interesting documentary or news report. Check it out. February 2026, just a few months ago, there was 8 years since his disappearance. And the family and community members gathered once again at the top of Sunburst Express Lift for the 8th annual Run for Ryan. In early February 2026, Heather launched a new GoFundMe fundraiser tied to Ryan's birthday month. And the fundraiser stated, Ryan has been missing for 8 years. That means 8 birthdays, 8 years missed of moments, gatherings, milestones, and a life yet not fully lived. The funds were designated for ongoing search efforts, including travel, logistics, and search-related expenses. It raised over $10,000. On March 18th, 2026, a separate GoFundMe was organized to help support Ryan's family during what was described as an incredibly difficult time as they cope with their loss.
This is the day before my birthday.
There you go.
On March 19th.
So as of April of 2026, as we're recording, he has not been found. There's been no trace of him, no clothing, no personal belongings, no remains. Nothing has been found. His cell phone, social media, bank accounts, no activity since the night he went missing. The RCMP investigation remains open and active. Foul play has not been ruled out, but no evidence of criminal activity has been found. So very puzzling. And I'll go through theories quickly here.
I feel like this is the most active case over a long period of time we've done in a while, if not ever.
Yeah. Every year there, I mean,
like the fact that they're still doing stuff is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I feel for the mom and the family.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first theory, the most obvious, is exposure, misadventure. This is the most straightforward explanation. Ryan walked out into -4 Fahrenheit with active snowfall, got lost, wandered off the road, and succumbed to hypothermia. The conditions support it. He was underdressed, likely intoxicated. Visibility was near zero, and the tree line was 10 steps from the road. Search and rescue initially believed he fell into a gully that was buried by heavy snow that weekend. And this was kind of the working assumption by law enforcement. You know, it's a straightforward explanation. I think based on, you know, maybe he was more intoxicated than people thought, and who knows?
Yeah.
He could have gotten cold pretty quickly. He may have gone and got pizza first, and then, you know, we don't know. But I think he was drunk. It was very cold, snowing, windy. He was underdressed. I think exposure, very likely theory.
Yep.
Theory number 2, hit and run. So this was an interesting theory. So the theory goes, Ryan was struck by a vehicle on the dark, icy road, possibly by another impaired driver. And the driver panicked, loaded the body, and dumped it somewhere between Sun Peaks and Kamloops. Former Sun Peaks news reporter noted that there had been other cases of pedestrians hit by drunk drivers late at night in the area, so it wasn't far-fetched. Area residents on Reddit have also called this the local consensus theory. So a lot of locals feel that this is what actually happened to him.
That makes me feel like that happens a lot.
Yes. But the problem with this is there was no damaged vehicle reported, no blood on the road, no tire marks or evidence of an impact. And Heather herself doesn't fully believe this theory given the total absence of physical evidence and the likelihood someone could have heard would have heard a collision.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would counter it, you know, like what if someone's in a big truck?
Well,
like a
or
brush guard
if there
or
was
something.
blood, but it got covered up by snow, and as snow melts,
Diluted.
it washes away.
Yeah. So
I
think
don't think that's fully ruled out.
I think if locals believe that's the consensus, that tells me that is a bigger problem than
And it tells me like they went right to that.
yeah.
So there's a feeling from the people who are in the area based on just like you said, like it's probably happening a lot more than they say, and there's no cops in the town.
Yeah.
So and it's late at night, nobody's there.
And the person's drunk.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but
you load the body in your car and then you just drive out of Sun Peaks and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just toss the body.
Yeah.
And they didn't search it. They'll never find it.
Yeah.
So third theory kind of ties in with theory number 2 was foul play. So this is where it gets unsettling. Jim Reed, like we said, this was the guy who heard someone yelling, get in the car, get in the effing car in the middle of the night. So retired RCMP investigator Brian Smith, who initially believed the exposure theory, changed his mind after interviewing one of Ryan's friends who seemed, like I said earlier, very nervous and afraid of himself. So, you know, he says his gut reaction that this most likely was a homicide, not just a missing person. And a lot of online speculation ranged from, you know, drug-related violence to someone at the party having a grievance. And, you know, Sun Peaks has a large transient workforce, so seasonal workers could leave town without raising suspicion. The problem with this, though, is after extensive interviews that law enforcement did with everyone involved, you know, there was no evidence of criminal activity.
Yeah.
And Ryan was universally described as non-confrontational, so he, you know, no enemies, no deaths, no known conflicts. So, you know, a lot of people had, they thought it was a pretty big stretch to say that he got into some fight and was killed. And, you know, they think it's even crazier to think that, you know, he was a drug dealer who was killed and that he, overdosed at a party. And,
after all this time, somebody would have said something.
Yeah, exactly.
There's too many people involved that wouldn't necessarily even get in trouble if they're like, yeah, I saw him.
Yeah.
Or he regularly was doing these nefarious things. Like, I feel like people would say that.
Yeah.
If I knew somebody that I was a coworker and that I knew dealt drugs or did bad stuff, and then all of a sudden he's missing, I'd be like, yeah, I think he was into that.
Yeah.
Like, even speculatively, and it doesn't sound like that was the case.
Yeah. I think either exposure, I think that could easily, but I think they searched so much that I think they would have found something. I think likely, I'm going with hit and run.
I'm going with hit and run or some other thing where he got moved.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
I think someone really drunk hit him, probably in a vehicle that would make, you know, like if you're in a truck or something, you hit somebody, it might not leave a dent. I mean,
or I'm guessing a lot of the cars up there are damaged
Yeah.
already. I'm just thinking like small towns, like resources are scarce. It's not like
Yeah.
there's a big car dealership replacing cars. Like everyone's probably fixing their own stuff, keeping
Yeah.
it running as long as possible. Like not
Probably
pretty.
slide off the road and hit stuff. You know,
When
in
I
the
was,
conditions.
looking at some of the areas, you could tell some of the cars weren't great. So I just because they didn't find anything like immediately, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I mean, if it's actively snowing, and if he's wearing like, there's not necessarily going to be blood if he got hit by a car.
Or you get hit by a truck with like this thing.
Yeah, and that truck already looks beat up.
Yeah, well, and they have the metal bars that like
the
they're not
brush
gonna
guards.
they're not going to get dented.
No, and there might not necessarily be blood from that.
Yeah.
Or like you said, if there was blood, it's going to be covered up pretty quickly and diluted.
Yeah, 100%. Washed away as it melts.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good theory.
I think it's a pretty good theory too.
And if that's what the locals think, like they are more plugged in to
Yeah.
what's going on.
Exactly.
And can you imagine a resort town that has a no police force? Of course, people are going to be drinking and driving.
Yeah, you're going to just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to pull you over? And we're not advocating
We're
for
not
that.
advocating for that, but I'm just saying it's human nature. Like, I just assume, if there's no police presence and the locals think that that's the likely theory because it has a history of happening, that seems pretty logical to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Or exposure.
Yeah, I it's between those two for sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. They searched so good in the exposure, and it's not like he would have gone far off into like the woods.
Yeah.
It would be way too much effort.
Yeah, it was like 100 yards an hour.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you're
just ridiculous.
like drunk, you're probably even slower. I mean,
you just wouldn't do hard things.
no.
You would go where you can.
You would
stumble.
go to get pizza.
Exactly. Like seriously, yes.
Well,
So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I will say I am.
Do you have like a off the deep end?
I didn't even think of an off the deep end. We always just say aliens, maybe
Aliens.
Sasquatch, Yeti.
You got to get more creative than that.
Yeti, okay. Alien abduction, I don't know.
I saw somebody said something like serial killer or something potentially.
Okay. But there hasn't been any other reported disappearances in Sun Peaks or murders or anything.
Or like the cops are in on it somehow. It was like an officer or somebody friends of the cops. So when they go investigate, like I hit this guy and they're like, oh, we haven't found anything.
Yeah, wink, wink.
That could be an off the deep end. This is
Yeah.
all pure speculation.
Yeah.
Anyone listen for legal reasons.
Maybe the resort is in on it. They don't want.
Yeah.
They don't want that to like. It's better to have him just gone missing than
Oh,
something violent happened.
Yeah, and scare away anyone who's coming there.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I mean, those are definitely all off the deep end, but
I think it's just. I mean,
an accident or exposure.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Well, an
going with.
accident and then murder.
Yeah.
Basically manslaughter.
Yes.
You hit
Second
and kill
degree.
someone drunk,
Yeah, second degree.
and then hiding the
and
body.
then covering the evidence. Yeah,
It's a
because
kind
you're
of
freaked out.
Serious crimes.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not serious,
No,
but it's
yeah.
not like intention. Like I'm gonna go find him and get him.
No.
Like it was just like one of those things.
Though I will counter and say, if you're that drunk, but suddenly you're that coherent to pull off hiding a body,
in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, but still,
Okay, fair
I don't know.
enough. All right.
I mean, coming from Wisconsin, lots of people sadly do drink and drive, and a lot of times they can't even get out of their car when
Yeah.
they get pulled over.
No, that's true. All right. Well, we want to know what you think.
Yes.
So thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find the videos of each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some cool, sweet swag. And you can also subscribe to our Patreon account or YouTube and Apple subscriptions, where you'll have access to special events and additional shows for paid customers only. Lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.